They weren't listening to hip hop at the time.
Right.
And they don't want to go back and listen because that's too much work to them. That's too much work. You know, I remember spending 2 and 3 hours in the record store, like literally digging through every 12-inch, through every CD, looking at every cassette. And it's too much work for you to go to your computer and type in a name and sit and listen to a song.
Right. And let's end this on this note. Like the problem is that we actually feel bad that the culture is kind of slipping away. And when we talked about the people going back and listening to rock music, me and him will agree on this, that some of the stuff that I didn't catch from the early 80s, mid 80s, I kind of say, oh, it sounds really old. But there's a lot of timeless music, just like, you know, the Black Sabbath, the Ozzy Osbournes. You got Grandmaster why do I always fuck that up? Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel.
Furious 5.
And the Furious 5. The Message. Still classic. Still could be played in the club today.
White Lines.
It has a vibe to it. White Lines.
The Adventures of Grandmaster Flash.
Right. You got Slick Rick. You got... I mean, we could even go back, like, the problem is that some of you guys right now that are watching it are 16, 17, 18 years old. You don't even go back as far as Rakim, KRS-One, you know, Tribe Called Quest.
You know, your De La Souls.
De La Soul.
The early Jay-Z. A lot of people listen to Jay-Z and have never even listened to his early catalog.
My favorite Jay-Z song of all time is called I Can't Get With That. It's the actual first single that he
People will tell me they love Jay-Z, and I'll tell them, go look up Big L Graveyard.
Right.
Jay-Z's on that. Big Daddy Kane, Show and Prove. And they're like, I'm not really in it. Early Jay-Z. His flow was completely different.
The whole Reasonable Doubt. Actually, I Can't Get With That was the first single, right? That they ever put out, if I'm not mistaken.
His first single? Yes. That wasn't on Reasonable Doubt.
No.
But okay.
It was a single only.
Right. I Can't Get With That.
That was his first single, and then he did a couple appearances.
Because he did those, and he had the original Flavor appearance.
Right. And he rapped a different way than on Reasonable Doubt even.
And his debut was with Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, because Tupac, in the Hawaiian Sophie reference, he was in the video, and, you know, I think he does response to a couple times when Jazz says his name.
Right.
But they did the Originators, which they came back and rehashed on In My Lifetime Volume 2.
Right.
I believe it was.
I think so. But the thing is that, you know, the Jay-Z that we know.
Right.
The original, with all the appearances, to Reasonable Doubt, which was, we could say, similar to Nas, but still good.
Similar to... And that's the thing is, a lot of people will tell me Reasonable Doubt was a classic album. To me, it was a really solid, it was a great album. But it was rehashing what Ready to Die and Illmatic had already done. So I don't think I can't call it a classic because I don't feel like it broke any new ground. An album that was very similar, and I'll just take the Illmatic and Ready to Die, but an album I felt like was very similar to that was AZ Do or Die.
Do or Die, which was a great album. And then this is the reason that we're even talking about this topic, because there's so many artists that newer people don't listen to now. Don't go back and listen to, like, timeless music that's still great today, from, like, you know, anywhere from the 80s to the 90s to, you know, the stuff that's current now. And then you got AZ still putting out records, but now people like that didn't blow up with this big craze of, like, multi-platinum selling albums has been pushed to an underground rapper.
Right.
When he really was not ever an underground rapper. He was on Sinumatic. You know, he was on Stillmatic. He was signed to
EMI. He was signed to Virgin. He's been on major labels. He part of the Firm, which, of course, the Firm album is considered a complete failure. Everyone's still waiting for the AZ Nas collabo album.
Right, which may never come out. But either way, like, this guy's...
To me, every song they do is phenomenal. They have great chemistry. But, I mean, we touched on the record labels. We've touched on the fans. But the artists, see, and here's a big thing, is in the 80s, rap was still kind of expected to fail. So when record labels signed people, it was a boom or bust thing. This might catch on, it might not.
Right.
People were given more freedom. now people know the selling power of it. They know, there's artists that are hitting diamond that are selling 10 million records, which at one time was kind of thought to be unbelievable. And actually, if you reached that status back in the day, you did it by selling out. In a sense, people looked at it like, oh, you sold all those records because you crossed over to the radio. I remember when rappers didn't even fuck with R&B.
Right.
It didn't happen. They didn't take whoever the hot R&B singer was, because R&B singers almost seem to look down on rappers, and rappers kind of look down on them as being soft. And they didn't fuck with them. They kind of felt like there was a whole crossover thing.
Right, a whole nother genre.
A whole nother genre you didn't cross over to. Which, I mean, we can debate the progression of that and all. But the thing is once the label saw the selling power, now they're signing artists not because of this guy is doing something that's never been heard before. Because the thing is, you take a guy that he's got a unique voice, a unique flow, a unique cadence. He's really great at picking out beats that fit him, but at the same time, they go, we still have to work on how to market that.
Well,
and the labels now finding people that they're going, well, you know what? He kind of has. We can hear a little bit of resemblance to what he's doing to like Nelly or this person.
Well, that's the perfect example. When Nelly blew up, he already had the St. Lunatics.
Right.
Chingy was actually someone local that opened for Nelly a few times. And the record labels were like, we need a new Nelly. St. Louis music, this music sounds different, it's blowing up.
Right.
And they went and got Chingy, which ended up signing with Ludacris, right?
Ludacris.
Correct. But Chingy was already in the mix because they wanted another Nelly-type sounding artist.
Right. And I mean, and that's not to degrade any of these, because I know in a situation like that, I mean, of course, a lot of people will go with and it's great to say because you've never been in that position, with the OC line that, I'd rather be broke with a whole lot of respect from the classic Time's Up record, but
right.
Go check that out if you've never heard Time's Up, OC. But a lot of people are going, man, I'm broke. Right. I got kids to feed. And these people are telling me at the label that they're going to cut this big check if I make an album that carbon copies someone else. Well, it's kind of, what are you in the music for? Some people are in it to get paid. So once someone says, we're going to blow you up, we're going to market you, but we want to make a record that's kind of reflective of, okay, and you brought up Chingy, of that St. Louis sound that Nelly's kind of cornered now.
Right.
So we want you to make that. And with the age of singles, they're saying, okay, it kind of felt like, and I mean, this isn't a knock, but I bought Nelly's first album, and I remember that I was kind of like, the whole album kind of had a feel of country grammar. Like, he made that song, and the label was like, make that song as many times as possible, and we'll make an album. And the 2 or 3 songs on there that were different were the songs that I actually liked on the album, but as a whole, I kind of had trouble distinguishing song from song when it changed. Right. And I mean, that's just my personal opinion. My favorites,
the only 2 songs I really, really like off that album are Ride With Me and Greed, Hate, Envy.
And which, I mean, there's kind of a attitude, I know, which from when me and you first met, that from the 80s, the part of hip-hop that I grew up in, the late 80s, it was kind of an exclusive thing. Like, I mean, we didn't include everybody.
Right.
And not everybody got to come in and talk hip-hop. You had to know your shit. I mean, like, people would laugh at you because, you watched one episode of MTV Raps, or you went and read Word Up one time, and
right.
You want to come over here and talk about rap music with us. You got to know your shit.
Right.
Like a lot of people, like the comment about the Wu-Tang thing. A lot of people, when Rakim came out, because a lot of the 5% ideology, a lot of the messages that he put in there, a lot of the lessons, a lot of people had no clue what he was talking about, and you had to be inside that circle to where people are saying, okay.
And it was a lot harder back then.
Let's build on that. Let's build on that. And we didn't have the internet back then, so you had to really bust your ass and do the knowledge on this stuff, and that's where you got your respect, because people are saying, he must really love hip-hop because he's taking time to break all this down, learn this stuff, and figure out what he's talking about, and which a lot of it sometimes just takes common sense.
Right. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna 33 minutes. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. But to wrap it up real quick. Also, that's one major thing about the culture that and the things that we've been talking about is that nowadays a lot of people don't even do research on the artists that they listen to, where they're from, where they grew up, what they went through. Unless they happen to catch it on a DVD somewhere, they don't do a lot of research. And
or VH1 behind the music. I mean, that's
and that's basically what we're saying is the culture. That's a cell phone, but actually, I'm sorry, we have Chewbacca in the studio. But basically, what we're getting at, guys, is when you're listening to rap, if you want to know where it came from and all these things, that we believe that a lot of you guys would be actually engulf yourself in it once you started learning like the whole culture behind it and how it used to be, how it's transformed, and hopefully we can get some of you younger guys to want to get into that and start bringing that back. And that's what, to us, growing up, made hip-hop so great because...
And, you know, I mean, for the next generation, just like, I mean, I have kids, and I understand I can't beat them over the head with, you know, come here and listen to this Rakim record, but at the same time, I become more open because I listen to what they're listening to, and I might not exactly like it, but at the same time, I try to find something to say, yeah, that's cool. I see where they're coming from on that. You know, let me play this for you that kind of relates to that, to where they more or less jack the idea. That mean, if my daughter came to me and was listening to the Mac Miller song, be like, I would listen to it and I wouldn't criticize it. I would say, okay, not really my thing. I see why you like it, but you know,
right.
Let's get into some Lord Finesse.
Right. And we're gonna leave it at that, guys. Stay tuned for the next episode. Peace.